Good evening, Internet, and welcome to Kent at Your Own Risk, episode 63, where Kent, Kevin, and Chris are going to talk about House of the Dragon, season 2, episode 3, The Burning Mill. It's been only a week, not even a week since the last time we did this, so not too much new to report. I'm on vacation. I think Kevin's on vacation. I'm having a good time. It sounds like he's having a good time. Kent, how are you doing?
I'm alright. Just really been playing a lot of Elden Ring and catching up on, just doing some old website stuff. I went through and read a lot of what we did for Season 7 of Game of Thrones, and it's kind of funny, I don't know, some of the things that we got, really right, and some of the stuff that was really, really, really wrong. So that's been fun. What have you been doing, Kevin?
I've been doing. I've been off the 4th, 5th. Today is the 6th, so this is Saturday night in Laconia, fireworks show. So we'll see how the decibels roll.
I'm laughing too because to go along with that, Kevin, no fireworks all day. 30 seconds ago, they started doing fireworks right outside my house.
Yeah, the sun just went down, so yeah, that's it. Mostly I've been watching stuff, so we can get to that in the end of the podcast. But I just rewatched this episode again, and I definitely am glad I did, and I'm actually pretty stoked on it. I don't know how you guys are feeling about this episode or the series of 3 episodes so far, but it's definitely different than what I would have expected, and I think there's some things that are I'm going to say narratively different than early on in season 2 of Game of Thrones. But
yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Let's just be honest. Without even diving into this episode, this was the epitome of a filler episode before a big episode. That's what this was, and which is fine. You need a filler episode every once in a while, especially before a big episode, because something big's going to happen tomorrow night. We know this, so we just kind of had this episode instead. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna go right into this. We opened actually with what should have been a cooler scene than it was. We kind of have the scene between the Brackens and the Blackwoods. They are two families, much like the Hatfields and McCoys, but in the Riverlands. And the two main guys talking, I think, were named Aaron Bracken and Davos Blackwood. And for those with a little bit of a memory, I think it was episode 5 when they were having guys court Rhaenyra either to be their wife or to be their protector. I don't know, but there was the young boy, and he got shit talked down to him, and then he killed the fucking grown man. Once again, Brackens and Blackwoods. So we have a little history there, and they're arguing about property, and then who's on whose side between Aegon and Rhaenyra, and then we see nothing other than hundreds of bodies all dead in a burning mill and all this. And visually it was pleasing, but I have a huge gripe with this. This reminded me so much of how underwhelmed I felt with the crab feeder? Was that his name, Chris?
The crab something, I don't fucking remember. He looked he looked cool. B, the name was cool, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Probably.
And you remember how, we felt disappointed that we didn't get to see Daemon kill him? That's kind of how I felt with this particular scene. The scene was cool, but I don't know. I could have gone for something more than a bunch of guys just bitching at each other and then seeing a bunch of dead bodies. I don't know. Did you get, like, I feel bad complaining, but I still feel underwhelmed a little bit. How'd you guys feel about it? Chris.
All right, so I've read the books, most of them. I haven't read, this particular one. I'm familiar with the characters and the houses and the politics, but I could definitely see this being, for somebody who's only watched the shows, confusing as fuck too, because like, who the hell are these people? Why are we giving them screen time? And then you skip all of the byplay and just cut to the after effects of what's been going down. I mean, I remember how confused people got over like The Witcher and shit, even House of Dragon season 1 with just the time skips. So, like, yeah, not the best way to start the episode, in my opinion.
Kevin?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought, when it cuts to that shot and then it pans out to all of the people, yeah, it would have been great to see a battle. I mean, they're kind of teasing that. We haven't gotten one yet. Not really. And I guess that all comes up later, too, which is kind of great. Why I think it was skipped over, because I don't know. I'll be getting ahead of myself, but Aegon doesn't believe that it's actual, or no, Aegon believes it's a battle and a victory, but everyone else is like, this is just kind of like, this is just the hijinks between these two families. So, yeah, I love the bloodlust. It was still a cool shot. I think it's true to Game of Thrones storytelling, though. They cut it and then they give you the, I guess, the subtext or the context later in the episode. So, yeah, I thought it was cool, especially watching this the second time around and being able to soak that in, because I was really confused the first time and a little bit more the second time. I was still confused, and I totally forgot that it kind of like that all those people were dead, because I was kind of like, oh, you just think that the fight is going to be the one kid died, but really they all died. Yeah. So I think it's true to its nature, and yeah, without getting too far ahead.
I don't know. I feel like Game of Thrones usually didn't dick us over this much, though. Like, I feel this show really does have a habit of being like, hey, something cool is about to happen, and skip time. Oh, there's a bunch of bodies. Like, it looks good, but narratively speaking, especially, I still don't understand why we're doing 8 episodes and not 10, because, I don't know, I could have gone for more of that, I guess. Instead, we kind of got like a little dick tease, whatever. Alright, so next we get Aeric and Eric getting buried, and now we probably never get to talk about them really ever again. Jacaerys, he's moody. Rhaenys basically says that she, in her opinion, like, she don't think Otto ever would have ordered this type of a hit job. And then we get to the theme of this episode when she says that, nobody will remember what started this war. And they pound this theme throughout the whole fucking episode, like, with a large troll-like hammer. Then Rhaenys gives us examples of who did what and this and that, and, like, so much has already happened, people have lost kind of scope on things, pretty much. And she also puts Rhaenyra in her place with the whole permitting the beheading of a child stuff. I liked the scene, but it was kind of whatever. I think it was just to get the theme kind of pounded in our head early on. I don't know, do you guys have anything to add to that one?
I think Rhaenys is one of my favorite characters in the show. Like, yeah. Some of the best lines. She's one of the smartest.
She's a little bit like Olenna in the fact that she's old and super smart and witty, in my opinion.
I mean, she's not even like old though. You know, like
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
She's seasoned though.
She's not.
Stuff.
She's not a young buck anymore by any means, but she's not like a tripping down the stairs because her hip broke or something.
She has life experience, and she just has a good head on her shoulders. She is one of the smartest characters in the whole series, I would think.
Honestly, I don't think we ever get to this point if they had just fucking made her queen.
Right.
You know, like, never would have happened. Otto would have been like, I'm fine.
Yeah. Kevin, did you have anything for the scene?
Yeah, no, I think, I like Rhaenyra a lot, so, though, I think that I'm kind of rooting on the other side, but we can get to all that later, but yeah, she's really good. There's a whole, like, I guess not really including her, but there's a lot of characters that I've noticed in this episode that were kind of, I guess they were in season 1, and like I wonder how they cast some of these actors, because their characters take on these whole other things in this season that really weren't, the acting really wasn't required in the first season.
Yes,
that makes sense.
It does, especially this show. Especially that absolutely makes sense. All right. Next scene, we got Crisco. He's alone, and his squire basically tells him that he's late for a small council. He gets there, grabs his marble, sits down. We have, people are not happy with the Aeric plan, and Crisco is just taking it right on the chin. Then they discuss the Bracken and Blackwood fight and whether it was a winner or whatever. And you kind of got Orwell, the Maester. He wants them to send a raven to Lord Tully of the Riverlands. There's Lord Jasper Ironrod Wild. He brings up Aegon's brother Darren, and how Darren's dragon is near fighting age. Then we have Lannister. I don't know. I definitely don't know what his name is because my autocorrect says Thailand. I don't think it's Thailand's Lannister, but that's funny. And he talks about Jason and Casterly Rock, because what's a scene with the Lannister without bringing up Casterly Rock? And they just kind of bicker, and Crisco is just like, fuck it. I'm going to go right out to the Riverlands. No sense in dicking around. I want to take Harrenhal. And Alicent, she thinks that they're being way too hasty about things. Aemond is just kind of kicking back, kind of got this smirk going on. He's just enjoying the hell out of this. Aegon's like, oh, I want to join in. I want to be a badass. And that's Aegon has like this sad like, I'm going to be fearsome too, guys. And that's the scene. It was, I don't know. I think this was almost kind of borderline comical in some ways. Kevin, did you find it funny in any way?
Oh yeah. When he's like, I'm just as fearsome as the rest of them, and they're all like, oh yeah, sure you are, and they all, great character actors at that table, and I kind of want to see him do it, Aegon. I like the fact that he's like, I'll just get on a dragon and go, that's how kings are made. But Aemond, kind of knows exactly how to say it and how to put it in such a, I don't know, nice manner.
He's more well-spoken and eloquent about it. It's funny. I think season 2 has really showed how different their personalities are between Aegon and Aemond. I kind of like that little bit of character depth or growth, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, I like too the fact that Aegon's not, even though I have a feeling he would be a bitch. He's he's not afraid to get in there. Like Joffrey would have been like, nope, send everybody.
Did my mom really need me? What did she say exactly? I just watched that Blackwater.
Send my mom.
Send Tom in, okay? Like, fuck it. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, so next scene, we got Mysaria. She's seeing a dragon flying around. I don't know. I think that might have been sea smoke. Yeah, it is sea smoke. Okay. Anyway, Rhaenyra shows up. They have a little chit chat, kind of explaining Mysaria returning, but like nobody believed her when she returned that the doppelganger Eric was around, and so I guess that was their way of trying to get past like the really large plot hole of last episode, in my opinion, and I don't know. Also, Sea Smoke was was last Rhaenyra's dragon. I had to read up on that. And Mysaria says that she has knowledge of the servants at the Red Keep, which makes her incredibly valuable, and she wants vengeance against the High Towers, as is tradition. And the scene exists to explain like why they didn't show us anything with Mysaria last episode after she saw Eric. I don't really know if anything else was really gained from this scene. Chris, was there anything else for you in this scene?
I have a feeling that the that last line that Mysaria gives, where she's like, maybe the dragon gets lonely, or whatever the line was. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, I have a feeling that might come back to mean something. What? Not fucking sure.
I kind of thought that it meant, like, I thought Rhaenyra took it as that she was lonely, and that's how I felt in that scene, that the dragon is lonely. She is, because she's doing all this. Daemon's going around supposedly doing what he's supposed to be doing, and fair enough, he is, but I don't know. That's how. Did no one else get that vibe from that?
There's some subcontext there, because do dragons mate, or do they just lay eggs? I don't know the inner workings of dragons.
I mean, I would imagine they would have to mate in order to lay eggs.
I would guess so. I wasn't sure if anything has ever been established.
Let me see your cloaca.
Are there any pictures in the books?
Explicit.
All mine were just novels.
Doing it. Yeah.
No dragon
novels.
porn?
The only thing I remember was in the very first book, there was a lot of sex between Tyrion and Shae. My little big lion. That was very prevalent.
Oh, Kent, that scene was for you. 100%. Written for you. That's all I thought. And really, I thought that, like, I was just like, see, you really didn't need that in the scene in the previous episode. And damn it, you actually made me think about this. I think that they didn't put that scene in because it would have cut the suspense of, did she get to Rhaenyra in time, for when we see the other guy walk through? Because we don't know that he's going to walk in until he does. And I think that's probably...
Yeah.
Because I felt it was not necessary.
I'll just say this right now. Game of Thrones is Walking Dead. This series is Fear the Walking Dead. This series has some good ideas, but some bad execution at times. And this was, I don't know, to me, a weird example of that. But that's just a personal opinion. All right. I guess this is a relatively important scene. Rhaenyra meets with Rhaena. Basically, I rewound this, and I'm still a little bit conflicted. All right, so Rhaenyra is sending Joffrey to Lady Jane Eyre, who I believe is in the Vale, but then I think Rhaena's taking Aegon and Viserys to Pentos? Is that right? I just want to make sure. Or, okay.
Yes. Yeah, she was sending the one to the Vale with the dragon
to get the army
by
right?
their allegiance, basically. Yeah, she promised them the dragon to defend them from the King's Landing dragons if the Vale army came over to their side. The others she's sending away so they don't get assassinated during the course of the war, because Dragonstone is only like 2 days from King's Landing, or 15 minutes if it's, season 7, season 8, Game of Thrones.
Gotcha. No, some warping abilities. All right. So Bela gets to stay because, she has a dragon, and Rhaenyra, she's got to go be... Basically, she's going to be Osha from Game of Thrones. She's just there to take care of 2 kids. And she's not happy about it. She's pissed off because she never got the Vhagar when she should have. And, this is what happens when you lack initiative, Rhaenyra. You miss out on the dragon, and now you get stuck babysitting. Obviously, although the scene isn't anything great, it's obviously setting up I would guess a ton of shit for future seasons, based on what I know. I don't really know if there's much else to... The only other thing that I thought was interesting was we know that Syraxes and Stormcloud are still young dragons, and as we know, dragons continue to grow throughout their whole life, so they're still young, and they could eventually grow to be bigger. And I say could because we know a bunch of dragons are going to get got, so they're probably going to get got, but who knows? I haven't read the book, so I don't know. I don't know. Any other input from you guys on this one? Nah. Okay.
No, yeah, not really. Yeah.
I mean, so they were sending the eggs, the dragon eggs, to Pentos?
Yes, I think they're going to Pentos. So,
yeah, the dragon eggs, and I think 2 of the baby dragons.
Syraxes and Stormcloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Next, we actually have I don't know, one of my favorite scenes of this particular episode. Daemon arrives at Harrenhal. He's actually doing what he said he was going to do. And then they just... The scene kind of drags on a little bit. Like, I know that they put a ton of work into making this place look awesome with the rain effects and everything. And, it's burnt and everything. So they spend, I don't know, it seems like a good 2 minutes of Daemon just walking around by himself, just so we can kind of see see Harrenhal in its current state. He finds a guard, and then he just breaks into the dining area, and there's, I don't know, I think 5 people there eating. The main guy in charge is Sir Simon Strong, who was Lionel's uncle, and Lionel was Harwin's father. So, that's how Sir Simon Strong plays into all of this. He's fun. He's just yeah, sure. We pledge fealty to Rhaenyra. Here's some venison stew. Sorry that, I don't know, they don't have something in it. I don't even remember. And
I don't remember if it was potatoes or something, but some kind of vegetable.
I thought it was crab.
Basically, Simon talks shit about Larys, as one would expect. And he makes a really good point about how he was it's kind of weird how Harwin and Lionel got killed by a fire, because we haven't had a fire here since Aegon the Conqueror fucking set this ablaze, or I think it was Aegon the Conqueror, I don't remember. So that was fun, little callback. He keeps talking to Daemon, and he wants to call him the prince, and Daemon's like, no, call me your grace. And Simon continues to stumble over how he addresses Daemon, and Daemon's kind of, I don't know, I think he's enjoying this little power play of sort. They talk about Bracken and Blackwood, because of course they have to. And why did they fight? The answer is lost in time, because they're still beating us over the head with that fucking stuff. Let's see. Daemon wants to meet with Lord Tully, but Lord Tully is old and shits himself a lot, I guess. Then Simon asks what the plan is, and Daemon says that they plan on marching to King's Landing and take the throne. And probably my favorite line of this episode, it's a big chair made of swords. So, I don't know, like, from a dialogue conversational standpoint, I don't really know if there was a ton here, but I thought visually this may have been, like, the most visually appealing aspect of the episode for me. Kevin, what'd you think?
Oh, yeah, I mean, from the dialogue, it made me think about what we were talking about last week about Daemon and his motives, and like that conversation between Daemon and Rhaenyra about like will he accept her as the queen, you know? And I kind of think, you know, because wanting to be called Your Grace, I believe that he, from this scene, that he loves Rhaenyra and wants her to be queen, but he's kind of just like obviously riding her coattails to be king. But I feel like he's still going to do whatever he wants, you know, without consulting her on everything, and they're just going to have this constant bickering relationship on that. What do you guys think about that? I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent, but
yeah, I think it's definitely kind of to throw, you know, a wrench in the monkey works, because otherwise, if it's, you know, just one side versus two sides, it makes it pretty clear cut, and you know the war shouldn't last as long as it does, you know, until the next generation are adults, basically.
And yeah, but for the scene itself, I guess it's hilarious that dude just immediately gets on his knees like, oh yeah, it's like if anyone showed
anybody with a sword that just comes in like,
yeah, we got this food.
I'm taking this over, he'd be like, yep, getting on my knees, fuck it.
Yes, you are. Here's the venison.
I agree with you, Ken. It's really weirdly paced. You know, it's a beautiful shot. You see people reacting when the dragon's coming in the middle of the storm in the first place. And then you see nobody for like a minute. One or two people in the background, and then Daemon just manages to wander into the fucking dining room without encountering a single fucking
one soldier was guarding that door to the dining
one soldier
area.
The entire time? Yeah.
I didn't even remember that, if you guys didn't say that. Yeah. Very desolate.
I mean, and it's not that so much that he's just like whoever wanders in. It's the fact that Larry's clubfoot, you know, who he knows killed his nephew and his grandnephew, is the one who's in charge of Harrenhal now. So he's like, fuck it. Anybody who wants to fucking kill Larry's, go ahead and take this shit.
Yeah. I asked my girlfriend, I was like, Harrenhal, how do I know that? And then she said that basically Peter Baelish,
he never went there, did he? Though, like he was gifted it by Tywin or Joffrey, but then he never went to Harrenhal, I don't think.
No, the only time we see Harrenhal in Game of Thrones is when Arya's there because the mountain is going around fucking massacring people out of it, and then Tywin shows up to kind of clean that shit up a little bit.
Oh, that's where Arya and all the
season 2
people from
that's
season
where
2?
Arya and all of the Tywin scenes occur.
Yep.
Oh, that's Harrenhal. So
Yep.
it's the shithole that no one wants.
I read up on Harrenhal a little bit because all I could remember was I thought it was haunted, which we'll get to, of course. But I read up, and so apparently it took, I think, 40 years for them to construct Harrenhal. And so like the first like big day, grand opening, Aegon just goes there, burns the shit out of the place, like on day one, which is hilarious. I didn't know that until I don't know what book it came up in. I just did my research online. Chris, do you know anything more on that? Like, like the beginnings
what's the
of
question?
it.
The history of Harrenhal.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was built as one of the biggest keeps in the Riverlands. You know, like Damon said it could hold 40,000 troops easy. And yeah, basically, as soon as it went into play, the Lord was burned alive by Aegon for defying him, and supposedly, he has haunted the place ever since. But, then it burns down again when Larry's, burns it down during this war. And then I believe it gets burned down again during the war. So by the time that, it get to modern Game of Thrones times, it's just fucking wrecked, and it's still this huge castle that nobody wants to live in because every time somebody occupies it, it gets burned down. So, and it's
So
supposedly haunted by the original master.
That's pretty I don't know. I kind of like little quirks like that in George R.R. Martin stuff. I appreciate that, I guess.
Thank you, Chris,
all right.
and Kent. Thank you
Now,
for that, because
no problem.
you answered way more than I would have expected. But I was like, Harrenhal, what's up with this place? And Kaylee did say, she's like, oh yeah, it's also supposed to be haunted. But I forgot that old Littlefinger doesn't even go. It's that big of a shithole that, like, it's like, oh, it's the only one they have to give away. Like, oh, you want to be a lord, right? Because he gets that from betraying Ned Stark, correct?
Yep.
That was
so.
his,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you're a lord. Here you go.
Harrenhal is the epitome of quantity over quality. Just this huge fucking castle that is worth jack shit.
Unless you're Daemon, he's he sees a diamond in the rough of this place. And everything he says, I guess, is not wrong. Because Chris, when you were saying that, I was looking at the expression of everyone's face at that table when Daemon was saying that, and they're still like, really, what can you benefit from this place, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we have to rebuild it, obviously.
Well, it's going to take some gold and coin. Yeah. That whole scene was kind of entertaining in its own weird, quirky way, I guess. All right. We get Krusty the Clown here. He meets Sir Gawain Hightower, who is Alicent's brother, and he's just a doofy little douchey knight guy that I don't know. There's nothing really redeeming about this guy. He just seems like an irredeemable.
No, I disagree. I fucking he's smart as shit. He already realizes that Crispin and his sister are fucking, like, right off the bat.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Gawain Hightower.
Like his dad, who we've said is like one of the smartest people in Westeros at this time, still hasn't realized that, and he's fucking figured it out on day one. So I mean, you got to give him that, Kent.
Oh, Alicent's brother. We're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not smart. I'm just he could be a douche and
Oh
be
yeah,
smart.
he's definitely both.
I mean, there's a lot of douches running around King's Landing pretty much every day, every century since it's been founded.
Oh, he's not the worst person on the show, Chris. We're not saying that.
No. I mean he's a hero compared to Krusty, but
He's got that yuppie swag to him a little bit.
He's old word
he
money.
just seems like a guy that would you really want to hang out with this guy in real life?
I mean, I feel like I've been to parties with this guy before. Not necessarily. Yeah,
right. Yes, we've all partied with this guy.
But I don't want to be in the
before.
woods with him, getting chased by a dragon.
Well, I mean, if he got to do what he wanted, we would have been at the inn. We wouldn't have been at the woods.
Yeah. All right. So basically, Alicent's like trying to like say goodbye to Krusty, and like is like the least sentimental farewell. Like she has no idea if he's going to come back or not, and it was just like this really weird, awkward scene because they're trying not to give away that they're boinking all the time. Yeah. Also, we see a crow eating out a rat catcher's eye. I don't know if it was the actual rat catcher that did the killing, but it was a rat catcher.
It was.
So, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. And we can move on from this one. We got.
I do want to say, I do think there's partly that they don't want people to know that they're boinking, but the exchange of those two actors, Alicent and Crispy, is like, also I think they're trying to figure out their relationship, or like they're setting boundaries in the way that they talk to each other, or like Alicent's like, well, my brother's going with you, like whatever, and then he's like, oh yeah.
I feel less that they're setting boundaries and more that, like, she's pissed off with him at this point for getting rid of...
For the small council, right?
For getting rid of her father, for, like, ignoring her when she's giving advice and whatnot.
Putting him in his place.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, as much as she can. But she's definitely in the less power in this relationship at this point now.
Without putting him on blast.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
She went from having the power to not having the power, realistically. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That, and I don't think she likes his new haircut, and I agree with her. I think his new haircut sucks. So, that's important. Alright, we have a Black Council meeting, and we have a bunch of people that I don't know if we're supposed to know any names. I had to look up names. We have a Sir Alfred Broom. He is pushy about, like, the ways that he wants the war to proceed. And Rhaenyra is like, yeah, but I don't really want to have dragons fighting each other, because that's going to get all kinds of messy. And then Lord Gorman Massey is also trying to, like, influence Rhaenyra to do things his way. And then Lord Bartimos Celtigar suggests that Rhaenyra go hide somewhere safe so these idiots can just run the war on their own without her input. She eventually just is like, hey, assholes, this is treason right now, okay? And then she just kind of gets up and goes for a walk, and Rhaenys, like, stares these fuckers down and just puts them in their place. And Rhaenys is the shining star of this episode for the few scenes that she has. I think she does awesome in every scene that she has this particular episode. And I the balls on the last guy to be like, yeah, just go hide. We will take care of this. That, I don't know. I found this scene, once again, this scene was more funny to me than dramatic, and I don't know if it's meant to be, but I found it funny. Chris, what'd you think?
I think it shows us that, with the exception of Krispy Kreme, the Greens have definitely the better advisors than the Blacks do, which probably will lead into lots of what's going to happen in the future. I'm just guessing. But yeah, for as much as they want to parrot that they're loyal to Rhaenyra, I mean, look at the fucking... Every chance they get, they want to fucking kick her out of being in charge. Oh, well, we can't do anything without Daemon here to lead us. Like, that right there, I was like, you guys are lucky you're still fucking alive after last episode.
Without Daemon and Corlys there, they just really feel like they can walk all over, I think. Like, I think if Daemon or Corlys had been in the room, maybe it would have been a little different. Do you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, look what happened when Corlys' brother talked shit to Rhaenyra.
Yeah. That, good times.
Yeah, they, well, I mean, it's just women in general, and I guess that's kind of why I guess we'll get to this a little bit later, but, I mean, why Alicent, you know, in a way, backs Aegon more than Rhaenyra. Or, I don't know if that why, but because if Rhaenyra was just made queen, like, you know, and no Aegon as king, no one would take him seriously. And I think that's kind of what it's showing us. Because that's how everyone...
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry I can't put it all in the words, but yeah. Because that's how they're treating her, you know? And I don't disagree with some of their ideas, like, especially later in the episode, but...
Yeah, for sure.
Right, it's not like Rhaenyra has, like, this great mind for war or even a great mind. I mean, which we obviously will get to, but Yeah, like, it's not like they're horribly wrong, but they certainly just would... If she was a man, they would not be acting this way.
Absolutely.
Next, we get a scene that was... Alright, so we get Rhaenys meeting Corlys in the shipyard, dockyard, whatever, the ship area, and she brings him some food, and she even feeds him a little bit, or whatever, and Rhaenys said that, you know, he could name Rhaena as their heir to, I can't remember, Driftmark?
Yep.
Or they can stay with Joffrey, and Corlys just kind of hates all of his options, and it was kind of touching and romantic for a bit, and then he just kind of walks away, and it really wasn't like a huge scene. Obviously, I'm sure this scene will be shown in a flashback for when they talk more about Driftmark heir at some point, but I think the lasting thing is I watched like the after show about like all the set building, and they spent so much time building this gigantic set for this tiny ass scene that really wasn't hugely important. Like, they didn't need this huge scene. They didn't really need to make this whole set just for this tiny scene, in my opinion. So I don't know. Sometimes it's like, from a production standpoint, I'm like, you guys wasted so much time and money for this.
Well,
like,
I mean,
you could have had the scene elsewhere.
At this point, it's been, what, 4 scenes, though, in that same set?
Has it?
Yeah, because all of the ones with Alan and Adam have been in the same set as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, they gotta give Corlys's bastard some time, I guess. So, I guess that's fair.
I love it. I love the fact, even if it was the case, that they would build all of that, and, you know, for such a small scene, I think it's great. But also at the same time, I really don't remember the scene very well. I kind of remember them standing there, and I remember, now that you mention it, Kent, that all these people are, you know, moving all the wood and the logs. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, there's like background players because they're repairing the ship, so you kind of see all the workers. Yeah,
and they're moving, the wood and stuff. Yeah, so I see both ends of it, but I mean, I love production design, so just the fact that they would do that is just awesome. They're like, we got the money, let's do it. Let's make art. Let's do it old Hollywood style, because there is so much other like CGI in the show too. So I always kind of ask myself, like, what are they really building, and what is CGI? Obviously, like the castles and the like within the water, and you see the islands or whatever. That's obviously all CGI for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, some of it, like even the very opening scene, they still had a lot of bodies, and then they, obviously expanded how many bodies via CGI, but they did a lot of practical effects in that very opening scene with the Brackens and Blackwoods. So, to me, that was worthwhile. And this, I guess if they're going to do more scenes here, I guess it's okay. It just, I don't know. Hopefully it pays off. That, to me, that's all I ask, is that the scenes pay off. I don't know. Otherwise, I thought it was kind of a nothing... I don't want to say it was a nothing scene. It obviously, like I said, we are going to see in I don't know however many episodes down the road, we're going to have the flashback at the beginning of the episode showing that scene, and then we're going to find out who the heir of Driftmark's going to be, somehow.
Right before someone burns it all down. And it's going to be glorious. The real theme of the show.
I got mostly from that is just this episode was mostly about how men are just fucking looking down on women and ignoring them completely. Which was, again, this case.
The entire series?
Yeah, I mean, she's making a case for the fact that you have somebody who's already an adult who you're passing by because she's a woman in place of a 3-year-old who might not fucking survive. And if you say you support me as much as you say you support me, why aren't you supporting our granddaughter to the same extent? And he's like, oh, because she's a woman. And then he walks off.
Now, I mean, this is bold prediction territory, but I guess in the back of my mind, I'm guessing that he's holding off to maybe see if Rhaenys dies before him, and then if she does, then he's going to name one of his bastards as the heir. Like, there's been no real other point to show Alan and Adam yet, so that, I don't know, I guess that's the conclusion I've drawn, is by them showing us those two guys, one of them are going to end up becoming the heir to Driftmark. I don't know, does that seem feasible?
I don't know if they become heir, but I know that most of the minor characters that we've seen in the last 2 episodes, who haven't really had more than a single scene or two, all get dragons.
Yes, I read up on some of that, and I was excited. One was a lot more obvious to me than the other, but anyway.
Did we get to the scene with Alicent and Helena? Did we?
No.
Go?
We got 2 more scenes.
Okay, all right, because I feel like a lot of this that we're talking about, really, I have a lot to say, or I have a couple questions, but...
Okay,
go on. Well, what's up next?
We got the departure of Rhaena, the 3 boys, the Joffrey who's hugging his mom, and Rhaena, you know, she's sad, she hugs it out with Bela, but there is one very, very, very important thing in this scene, and that is that we see the 4 dragon eggs. And in case it's not clear to people, 3 of those are the eggs that Daenerys has. And that begs the question, what happens to that 4th dragon egg? I'm super curious to find out what comes of that 4th egg. It has been confirmed that those 3 eggs are the ones that Daenerys has, so this isn't me just talking on my ass. And so I guess I'll ask you, Kevin, what do you think happens to that 4th egg?
Oh, it's got a hatch, right? Isn't that the one that she's going to get? Because isn't one of those dragon eggs hers? The...
Rhaenyra's? Is that...
Well, yeah, Rhaena is the
girl that's going to be
child
babysitting, basically.
Yeah, right? Doesn't she say that she's going to get a dragon?
I don't know.
Does she get one? Am I...
Yeah, I think she gets one, and I think that's what
like...
Rhaenyra was trying to imply by giving her the dragon eggs to take with her.
Okay, so I'm not just making that up. That was my impression, that one egg was going to go to her, or, you know... But yeah, one of those was hers for her own dragon, you know, so she can, like, step up in this world of men, this cesspool of men.
Yeah, so that dragon's not going to be useful at all, then. I can't imagine. Just... I think that's a... So if that egg hatches, I still just don't think it's going to be of any use. But... Maybe.
Oh, before you know, the Ice Age of dragons, before we get the extinction.
Yeah.
Is that what going to be that's the setup to the end of this show?
It could be.
Does anyone know?
I don't
Chris?
know. Yeah, I mean, the whole reason they go into decline is because of this. Like, they're not all dead, but you know, by the time, what was it, Varys the Mad King? By the time he rolls around, you know, there's only, what, 1 dragon left?
Oh,
maybe.
So that's like... Oh.
Yeah. And then, you know, that's how he burns, you know, Ned's dad and brother alive in the throne room, and, you know, one of the catalysts for causing the whole rebellion against him.
Burn them all.
And then, yeah. Then, I don't remember if Rhaegar had one, too, at the time, but, you know...
Ned saw a dragon in his lifetime? Because I felt like they were extinct for a very long time.
No, they weren't extinct per se, you know, or even if they were, you know, it's still.
That's a good question.
Within 2 to 3 generations,
because they present it, especially in season 1 and 2, that nobody's seen a dragon in for fucking ever.
One of the things I liked about Viserys is that he had that whole speech. It was the first time we really heard about dragons, and he had this whole history, and it was all very, like, romantic and mysterious, and it seems like it was maybe only, like, 10 years removed from his lifetime.
Probably, no, I mean, even if it was, it's still only, like, 1 or 2 generations, you know, so, Because think about it like this. This, when we started, 200 years. We've already gone, what, another 20? So, 180 years from now to Daenerys. Even, they don't all die out during this War of the Dragons, but most of them do.
Right.
So you probably have another couple generations afterwards. So, but even if it's 100 years, that's what? 3 generations? 4 generations of kings? So it's not like the age of myth. It's like, the same amount of time that my great-grandparents were alive.
I mean, and this is also how the Targaryens, they hold the ruling of everything for this whole, 200 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're literally the only people who've ruled the 7 kingdoms from the time they show up until Robert takes over.
Okay.
Until Jaime Lannister fucks it all up.
Okay. Next, we have the scene that Kevin wanted to talk about. Basically, Alicent and Helaena, they have a talk. Helaena feels sad about Jaehaerys' death. Helaena talks about... Basically, she kind of talks about the parallels of sadness for death for not only for highborns, but also for commoners. She has a empathy thing going on, which is rare for any of the highborns we ever see in the show. She definitely has some empathy, and then she also blurts out that she forgives Alicent, and it was kind of a quick scene, but it had a lot of stuff kind of going on. But rather than me prattling on, I'll go to Kevin, see what your question is or whatever.
Okay, so, this is one of the episodes where Helaena, and I think when you guys mentioned it, that she's got a lot more to do this season than we would have ever thought. And so while I was watching the episode for the second time with Kaylee, I asked her about Aegon and Helaena being brother and sister, because I didn't remember if it was her I was talking to or you guys. And you guys did say, right, so that they are brother and sister,
yes.
Correct? And
yes.
And you guys knew that. Okay, because she was like, no, I don't think so. And I looked it up, and I was like, no, I think they are. And this scene actually is the reason why I questioned that, because they do not feel like they're mother and daughter, full on, you know what I mean? That was not a scene between a mother and daughter at all.
Helaena almost comes off like the neglected child out of all the children. Was she the only girl of Alicent's kids?
Yeah. 3 boys.
4? Wait. 3.
3 boys, I think.
Darren, Aegon, and Aemond, right? Those are the 3 boys, and then Helaena. Okay. Yeah, she comes off like the child that didn't... Well, she has whatever she has, but then she also kind of comes off like she didn't get much attention.
Which I think feeds into the whole theme of the episode.
Well, yeah, and then she basically, if you think about her character, is she was born to just basically marry her brother to be queen, but just that, you're just taken, you're queen, you're marrying your brother, she has no say in all of this, and then you're going to have these kids, and then you're basically going to point one out and watch it die, and it's just insane. If you really think about it,
she was married to her brother before they even knew he was going to be king. So you're basically...
What?
You're just... Yeah, they have 3-year-old kids. I mean, he just became king a month ago.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Yeah, we should have rewatched that the first season. I realized that too. I was like, we really dropped the ball on not rewatching it. 'Cause, I mean, what were we thinking? But I guess I just think, because I would love to see her character, because I barely remember her at all, and I couldn't remember that she was, because she is nothing, right? Just handed off and. You're married. Why'd they marry her?
Well, Targaryen's just
I thought it was just
it was more
queen.
Power, right? It was basically to keep all the power in the family rather than to be let's form bonds with the Starks or whatever. Am I right in saying that, Chris?
Well, I mean, not necessarily, because you see that they'll marry out when they need to, but yeah, it's also a way to keep all the dragons in the family, because
the dragons. That's
because only members of Old Valyria, which is why, like, for example, the Corlys's family is able to ride them too, because even though they're not Targaryens, they're still Valyrians.
And you can only ride a dragon if you have dragon blood or have the Valerian, right? Like, those are the two prerequisites?
Well, I mean, that's what the dragon blood came from being Old Valyria.
Would you...
Yeah, so Helena's just a trauma survivor.
Well, I mean, if you even think back to Game of Thrones, though, look at Sansa, like, hey, you're going to marry Joffrey. Oh, no, now Joffrey's going to marry Marge. Well, maybe Littlefinger, maybe Loras. No, you're going to marry Tyrion just because. Like, so basically, once again, women are just kind of used as, bartering chips of sorts. They don't have the say in anything.
Yeah.
Unless you're Cersei.
I mean, it doesn't stop her from being a trauma survivor, too.
Chris, can you name, like, even 2 examples of trauma that girl suffered? I can't.
In this episode.
In this particular episode, Sansa did not suffer any trauma.
Oh, Sansa. Okay, yeah. Helena, I mean, her
Sansa's
mom's
the
just
worst, man.
emotionally unavailable to her. She's feels
too
like
busy getting that Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, here's my question to you for this scene. Do you guys think Alicent understood what Helena was
no.
forgiving her for?
Like, that caught her off guard based on her reaction, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know if she realized that Helena's like, the whole reason my son died was because you were fucking the guard who should have been protecting us.
Yeah, isn't that what she meant?
That's what she meant, but I'm saying, do you think that Alicent understood that's what she meant?
Yeah. Yeah. You can see it on her face, because she was like, are we about to talk about this? And then she's just like, I forget, and then that's it. I had enough of you, Mom. You've really done enough today.
As my son would say on his little text-to-speech thing, need space.
Yeah. That was
That's pretty funny.
Perfect. I think that's it for me, guys, but yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Chris,
No,
do you have
nothing to add
anything
to that one.
Okay. All right. This next scene was awesome now that I've read more about it. So this is the scene where Aegon's getting his armor fitted. I wrote fittered? Wow. Autocorrect's awesome. Anyways, so Aegon's surrounded by his 3 guys, the Mean Street Posse. That's a shout out for anybody who watched wrestling in the late 90s. So Larys shows up and he wants to talk to Aegon in private. He's like, there's 2 stories kind of going around. One about how brave you are and wanting to go out to war, and the other one though is like how you kind of were getting played and manipulated, persuaded, whatever, by your small council. And Aegon's just like, yeah, cut out any of those people telling these fucking stories, basically. And then Aegon kind of thinks about it for a second. He's like, I want you as my Master of Whispers, because my dad never thought that we needed it, or at least Otto never needed it, but Aegon feels that he could use a Master of Whispers. Then we also learn that Aegon's crew has like a new squire, and they need to go out, get drunk, and get the squire fucked. And Aegon's like, hey, you guys are supposed to be like, I don't know, chastity or whatever. Like, you guys aren't supposed to be going out and fucking anymore. You guys are part of my crew. You took oaths or whatever. And they kind of just laugh it off until they realize that he's being serious. Like, Aegon's trying to be a king for a moment. So that was fun. And then I do have 2 notes. One is, I had this pointed out to me. This is not something I thought of. Whenever Loras is with Alicent, he stands a lot more tall, but when he's around Aegon, he hunches over to be more diminished. It's just like this weird mind fuck that he's doing between Alicent and Aegon. And I found that really fascinating and add like a new layer to him that I just didn't pick up on. And the other thing that I can't fully say is that the scene in the right towards the end where Aegon's looking at himself in the mirror is going to play a role later on in a cool way. And I'm very excited about that. So, Chris, what do you got for this scene?
I really like Larry's. He's one of my favorite characters too. Like a couple of the reviewers that I watch, and they've said the same thing about Daemon. They're and actually Aemon. They're like, the cool people that you remember that stick with you are the assholes. Same thing like we brought up with Euron last week. So, how many people remember all of the little cool side heroes versus Littlefinger and Tyrion and Jaime and the Mountain? Same thing with Larry's. He's that. I don't know. He's the fucking. I don't want to say loose cannon, but definitely the manipulator for this series so far.
Yeah, he's definitely the chaos bringer. And chaos is a ladder, damn it.
Yeah, that was, what did I like about this scene? Well, what I got was that his little posse there, what'd you call him, Kent? The Mean Street?
The Mean Street Posse. You remember Shane McMahon had the Mean Street Posse?
No, but that makes sense. Who was in the Mean Street Posse?
It was Rodney Mack, Pete Gas, and somebody else who only wrestled like 2 matches.
Oh, yeah, I don't know who those guys are, but I do know Shane McMahon, and that sounds... sounds
they
great.
were Connecticut, they were his legit friends, and they had no wrestling experience, and they just kind of learned on the job.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just quirky.
I mean, maybe not for a fan, but yeah, that sounds hilarious. And so they don't really, they think they're friends with the king, which right? Because they're like, and we get that
because they were the same guys that were joking an episode or two, like Aegon the Dragon Cock, that was the same crew.
Yeah. So, and Aegon still lives in this delusional world of honor where we find out that, like most people, the Night's Watch don't, really all stay celibate either, that kind of stuff.
Obviously, when the commander of the Night Watch is, boning your mom.
Yeah. Well, wait. We're talking about Jon Snow?
Oh, Crispin.
Oh, Crispin. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, so, yeah, I don't know. Like, that is,
sorry,
that's crazy.
Not Night Watch. I'm fucking...
What's that?
The fucking gold cloaks, not the Night Watch. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was why I was like, why? What's he? Oh, because I misspoke. My bad.
Wait, are they the Gold Cloaks or are they the Knight's Guard?
The King's Guard. Gold cloaks are something separate. Yeah, okay. Anyways.
Jesus.
Let's move on to the next scene.
Yeah.
We're making ourselves look good. All right. We have the next scene, which kind of just rolls right in, is we meet a new guy. His name is Ulf, and he is with 2 friends and this Dornish guy who I think is like a salesman or something. I don't know. Trader. I don't know. They're at the tavern, and Ulf is kind of like, all I can think of was George Wendt and Cheers. Like, he walks in, he is friends with everybody. He daps up everybody before he sits down, and then he kind of lets out, I don't know, kind of almost as a humble brag, as it were, that he's half Targaryen, and he was son of Balon the Brave. He is half brother to Viserys and Daemon. But then he's like, shh, keep it on the down low type thing. Then Aegon and the Mean Street Posse, they come in, Aegon is living it up a little bit. He's like, buys everybody a round of drinks. Like, Aegon has, I don't know, Aegon's character is really intriguing the shit out of me, especially after this episode, because he's taking things more seriously, but he has like this weird charisma to him. I'm really digging what they're doing. And then after they drink, they take this squire that needs to get fucked. They bring him to the whorehouse, and we see some lady sucking some dude schlong, like he has porn dick going on. And then they enter a room, and there's Aemon laying with the woman. I don't know what her name is, but it's the same woman that we always see him with. And Aegon's definitely had some drinks in him. He's just joking around. Aemon's not really happy. Eventually he's just like, whatever, if you want to fuck her, she's just a whore, or whatever. And he gets up and walks throughout the whole place just buck-ass naked. And I don't know, you feel for Aemon in that moment, obviously. But there's a lot of shit to digest here. So obviously Ulf is going to be a character. I mean, if it's not abundantly clear, I read up a little bit on him, but obviously much kind of like how they did with Hugh the last episode, and I think Chris kind of alluded to it last week. Like, we're just going to keep meeting some other characters as we go along as well, so this all plays into it. It was kind of a cool, like, combo scene. Chris, first and foremost, what'd you think about the whole thing with Aemon?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to bring up that we saw Ulf last week as well.
Where?
He was the one who walked up and saw that the dudes were...
Oh, he was the guy that... Yeah.
He was the guy walking through the street and throwing up, and he's like, what's everybody crying around? And they're like, oh, they hung on the rat catches.
'Cause he, like, stole, like, a piece of fruit or something from some guy's basket when he was walking down the steps.
Yeah, he was just walking down the street, just fucking stole some fruit and threw up on the corner.
Oh,
Wait, was that the guy? The guy who told the story, or the guy?
Yeah, the guy who told the story this week was saying that he's, the illegitimate son of Balon. Yeah. He was the one last week who, like, we'd never seen him before last week, but he's walking through the streets and he steals the dude the fruit off the cart, and then he. So, what's everybody crying over? And she's like, oh, they hung all the rat catches off the keep. And that's when they panned up and you saw that he killed, Aegon killed all of them, and he got the one who killed his kid, but, he didn't know that.
I'm glad you brought this up. Yeah. I didn't correlate that.
Yeah, and great job, Chris, on the rat catchers.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
Nice little flair on the British accent. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Anyways, yeah, no, like you said, there's a lot to unpack. The guy with the porn dick, his fucking career is guaranteed no matter what he does from now on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I said last week that they were like skimming down on the sex, and then sure enough, like full oral penetration. But go on, Chris.
And then vice versa, Aemond, I was like, that makes me feel much better about myself. So.
Chris, you're not nearly in that great of a shape. Come on now.
No, that for sure. The muscles were not there, but something else is definitely.
Yeah. Makes you feel a little more grounded.
Yeah, it makes there's good and bad no matter where you go. It's definitely setting up Aemon as more sympathetic. It's like you said, Aegon's being a kind of an interesting character because he'll do something and make you feel a little bit of sympathy for him, and then he'll turn out do something like this and be a complete total asshole. So it's kind of hard to. I think they've done a really good job of making it hard to feel full on sympathy for any character in this show. I don't. Do we have a Jon Snow in this show? Like, is there somebody who's just maybe stupid but just good in all of the decisions that they make?
Mysaria. But no.
Wait,
no.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's maybe not quite.
No, like there's no. As a matter of fact, they've made, like, basically the High Towers, like, the most conflicting people, because I swear, like we said last week with Alicent, sometimes she has a scene where you're like, oh yeah, I get where she's coming from, and then the very next scene you're like, oh yeah, I loathe that bitch. And they're doing the same thing with Aegon. It's interesting.
Oh, I think Aegon is finally coming. I don't know if there's really anything very redeemable about him. I mean, what happened to him? His kid got killed. He's just an asshole in over his head, and I love it. I'm down for the ride. And, yeah, he's mean to his brother. And then Aemond, yet again, does that thing where he's, like, just does what he's supposed to do, like, out of respect that his brother is the king. You know, one horror is good of another. I don't know, like he was when he was like, oh, no, brother, don't go on the dragon. We need you here. We need our king. Like, it doesn't really feel like him. Am I right? What do you guys think?
I mean, Aemon has definitely patterned himself off Daemon. So, you know, while Rhaenyra is smart enough to question Daemon's loyalty, I don't think Aegon is smart enough to question Aemon's loyalty.
Good point.
Yeah. And Aemond is playing that part.
Yeah, I mean, they really tried as early on to make Aemond look and act so similar to Daemon that I'm guessing. I mean, Chris, I'm guessing you know the answer to this. Like, Aemond and Daemon have to have a fight at some point before the series ends, right?
Yeah, I know the answer to that.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Nice. Oh, and all I want to add, I don't know if you guys have anything, but the opening, like the tracking shot with, what is his name? Olaf?
Ulf?
Ulf? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm like the dude from fucking Frozen. His name is Olaf now, okay? So, he's a big snowman-looking guy. Anyways, I love the shot where he walks into the pub, and it's like it follows him with no cuts. That was, like, really cool. And then the fact that he tells this story, is it true? Do we know that it's true? Or is this just a story?
It is true, right? I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it's true. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's true.
So we're believing it.
Yeah. I think that a lot of the people we've seen are the illegitimate children of the different people going forward.
Yeah, it's not possible. So, like, the one time that he tells his story, who walks in? The king.
Yeah, right behind.
Straight up treason. Yeah. Like, it's like, of course. I tell the one time. He can't even leave anymore. He has to party because he has to make sure that none of these people talk to the king. You know? Like, because what are they going to say? The only thing they got, this guy said he was a Targaryen.
Yeah, he's got to, like, hang out and drink, but he can't get too drunk because he really has to be watchful of these motherfuckers that he just told the story to.
He just called Rhaenyra the one true king, you know, like, and then who comes in? The king. Aegon. You know, hilarious. There's so much great comedy in this episode.
All right. Next, we have a really small scene. It's like Rhaenyra, I think she's like picking up like the toys like from her children and like putting them away in a box, and then she finally decides that it's time to look at the scroll, and we see just a quick glimpse of the scroll. I didn't pause it to read it because whatever. I don't really. I mean, it moves the story along. I don't think there's really much for discussion. But then we get Gwaine and his buddies. With Crispy and shit, or as I called him, Crisp and Crunch for the scene. Gwaine does not want to sleep on the fucking ground. He's like, 2 miles away, there's a fucking tavern. We're gonna go sleep there. We'll meet you guys when the sun comes up. And Crisp and Crunch, he was not happy with this shit. And then he sees something in the sky, realizes they are exposed, and Bela is flying Moondancer, and she's going to get a better look, and these guys take off towards the trees. And when I first watched this, my first question is, why the fuck didn't Bela just burn, like, a small section of that forest and kill off fucking Crispin. Like, that would save so much time, much like, Rhaenys could have just burned everybody at the King's coronation, but everybody on fucking Black Council just seems to be a bunch of giant pussies aside from Daemon. Just throwing that out there. So nothing really was accomplished other than, I hate Crispin's haircut. Cool looking scene and everything, but just utterly stupid to not have taken the initiative. Like, yeah, what's Rhaenyra really going to do at that point? Like, is she going to get pissed off? Maybe, but I mean, it's definitely not worse than fucking child murder. So fuck it. I don't know. Baela should have just taken the shot, so to speak, in my opinion. Kevin, what do you think?
Are we going to also discussing the episode where she goes and tells Rhaena?
You know what? That's the very next scene. Baela reports that she found Crispy and friends, and Rhaenyra, we find out that Rhaenyra did tell Baela not to engage. And, the advisors are still trying to talk Rhaenyra into acting and unleash the dragons, and Rhaenyra says she'll consider all arguments. So, there. We combined those two scenes, so hopefully that helps.
Okay. Yeah, so, because that kind of answers some of it, too. And really what it tells us is that, she has now an option to, go and make that call. And actually, it sounds like a good call. Right? Burn it down. I'm with you 100%. But it shows us that, ultimately Rhaenyra has a heart. She is probably one of the kinder people in the show, and she doesn't want to kill the guy she lost her virginity to. Did she lose her virginity to that guy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, you break it down into just girl terms. Maybe I don't want to kill the guy that I lost her virginity to, even though, I guess she probably doesn't know, but could probably figure out that he's banging whoever's around the Red Keep. So, anyways, what do you got, Chris?
I'm pretty sure that this is the scene that's going to play into next week's episode. Well, this week's coming up's episode. So, I don't know too much to say because I think it's going to reflect in what happens
the restraint. You mean, and not attacking?
No, like the whole what you were asking for is going to happen this week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't this next episode called Dance of the Dragons, right?
I haven't looked ahead at the episode names, and I've tried to avoid spoilers, but as soon as you open up, it's 50-50 on whether you're going to see something for the boys or
yes, at this point. I agree. That I've seen a lot of stuff on the Bear as of late, but yeah, I agree with you. I mean, this is all definitely leading up to tomorrow night's episode. Rhaenyra is definitely, to go to Kevin's point, almost too kind or too nice at certain points to a fault. And I don't know. And my guess is that's kind of a huge premise of this whole show in some way or another. Anyway, we get my favorite scene here. We go back to Harrenhal. The roof is still leaking. They were flooding the shit out of this scene when they were filming it. Someone tries to enter Daemon's room, and he has the doors barred with a sword, but then he removes it. He grabs his main sword, goes see who it is. He starts looking around, can't find anybody. Then he looks in a room, and he comes across the young version of Rhaenyra, who we all know and love. She's busy sewing the head back onto the fucking child. She, I don't know, basically they have a quick conversation. You could tell Daemon misses that version of Rhaenyra. He misses the younger days. And he kind of closes his eyes, and then he's outside next to, I think they're called weirwood trees. There is a woman outside, all in black. I feel like we may have seen her once earlier in the episode, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't even know what this lady's name is, but she tells Daemon that he will die in this place, and I wrote down thanks for the spoiler. And, this kind of goes along with the curse and haunting of Harrenhal stuff, but also really does a deep dive into Daemon's psyche as far as he clearly is not happy with his state of affairs with Rhaenyra currently. Like, he definitely longs for going back in time, and I don't know. As soon as that lady said he's going to die there, I'm like, all right, so Aemon's going to fucking kill Daemon at Harrenhal. That's just my best guess. I have no idea who kills who, but I've long thought that the obvious person to kill Daemon would be Aemon. So, just my guess. I have no idea. Chris, can you add? Do you know who the woman was? Okay.
No clue. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
I had no idea.
What'd you think about it? The scene?
Yeah, Damon's definitely working with some fucking through some trauma. I really think that Westeros could use a couple psychologists and maybe some Prozac, and there would have been so many less issues going on. It was really interesting to see Millie Alcock back. Was not expecting that. But yeah, I really do feel bad for the people who had to be spraying the water for every scene that they filmed in Harrenhal.
Yeah, dude, as I was watching that behind the scenes, like, they were legit, like, taking brushes and, like, having to push the water out so they didn't ruin the set because they were just doing so much water. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So I thought that, or do you guys think that he's expressing regret over the kid dying?
Oh, yeah.
She's sewing up. So he's actually, like, does feel, like, regret about that, and I guess the other point that you made, Kent, of, when he was on top, creepy uncle, when he was really calling the shots.
Those were more fun days for him. They were shit days, but, like, Rhaenyra treated him definitely differently back then, and there was definitely more romance, a little bit more lust, I'm sure, and now it's just, like, all business, it feels like, for him. Like, he doesn't get a day off, So, I liked it. I'm happy. I hope we get to see more Ghost in Harrenhal. Hopefully. That'd be cool. Alright. We have 2 more scenes left. We have Rhaenyra visiting Mysaria again. And she asks if Mysaria knows about, like, where Alicent goes. And basically, Alicent doesn't really leave the castle except to go to the church, or septum? I don't know, whatever it's called, the church. Okay.
The septum.
And Rhaenyra, like, she wants to talk to Alicent, but, can't do it through ravens. She's like, gotta speak to her face to face. So, Mysaria gives her some tips on how to dress, told her how to arrive via fishing boat, just like she told Daemon to do. And, that was all basically a setup for the final scene. I don't know. Was there anything that you guys want to touch on before we get to the final scene?
I just figure every time you see Mysaria, you're like,
yes. Yes, I am.
I mean, that's literally I see her show up and I'm like,
I'm drinking it in, man.
Like,
all right.
And all these scenes are for you too, Kat, because she's, like, giving the exposition. Because you would have been like, "How the hell did Rhaenyra showed up to the church?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have even known that." Like,
she's like our Morgan Freeman narrator for the show. I feel so. All right,
I might say slightly sexier Morgan Freeman, but I'm sure there are people who would argue that.
You know what? I'm not even going to argue it. I mean, as good looking as Morgan Freeman is at his age. I mean, Mysaria is a looker. All right. Before I even get going on this next scene, do either of you know who the guy is that's with Rhaenyra? Is he somebody we should know?
I asked my girlfriend the same thing.
I couldn't find
where
any
does this
info.
guy come from?
I'm assuming we're not supposed to know him.
He wasn't at the when she decided to leave. He wasn't there with Rhaenyra.
I'm wondering if he's the same guy that got Daemon in. Like, I wasn't paying attention. Did we even see who got Daemon in that first episode?
Wasn't it the dude who went and killed the kid?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I did ask if it was just a contact.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked online. I couldn't find a definitive answer. I wasn't sure. So anyway, we get the scene. Rhaenyra blends in like she's dressed as a septa. The guy that she's with is dressed like I don't know, monk, basically. I don't know, whatever the male religious version of that is. He's got himself a little knife on his sleeve, and he just hangs out and reads while Rhaenyra blends in and goes in, finds Alicent, and they have this big face-to-face, and basically, the point of the whole thing is, does anybody remember what really happened in the beginning? They go back and forth. Probably the most important aspect of this whole thing, at least to me, was Rhaenyra asking about why Alicent thought, Aegon should be king, and she explained the whole story of Fire and Ice, and despite all of this, Alicent is just like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? It's kind of a bit late now. Like, and I walked away going, what? I don't know if people are supposed to be mad at Alicent, but at this point in the game, what is Alicent supposed to do? Just be like, oh, my bad, Aegon, you're not going to be king. Like, let's just undo all of this stuff. Like, I don't really think there's a solution here. So I walked away going, Rhaenyra, you're a complete and utter dumbass that you accomplished nothing and you risked your life, and only thing you gained was the knowledge of why Alicent thought that Aegon should be king. This scene just exploited how dumb Rhaenyra is to me. And I would even go so far as to say this scene may have made me opt to be on the Green Cloak side of things, because at least they have some fucking kind of common sense about things. Rhaenyra's side just seems really fucking dumb at this point. That's what I took from it. Kevin, what was Alicent supposed to do at that point? Did she have any options?
Okay, so the most important thing about this scene, and this is something different than from most of Game of Thrones, is that we get something that we don't usually get in Game of Thrones, is that every single thing is finally in the clear and everyone's on the same page. Alicent, Rhaenyra, and us as an audience. We all know, like, this is exactly what happened. I hear you. It's a story. She can't go to your question. She can't be like, oh, it was a story, Aegon. Like, it was Aegon the Conqueror, not you. Like, the crown goes to Rhaenyra now. No, and also I think that there is an underlining thing about Alicent too, is that she knows that they will not respect a woman queen. They will not do it. She would make a good queen. She said it. She's like, yo, I went on record. I said that you were a good queen, And, yeah. And it's something that the men in the show don't do, is they sit down and they talk to each other, these two women. And I thought that was kind of incredible, because it was just, usually everyone's on a different page, and then there's all of this awesomeness that happens. So, wars and all of that. So, that's basically where I'm at on the scene.
And, I mean, it sets Rhaenyra up now, because she can be like, hey, Alicent's a fucking dumbass who misunderstood what my father said, and literally just usurped it out of nowhere, and she knows that she's wrong, and she won't fucking admit it. So, I don't think she's going to sway anybody else to her side, but, when the grumbling starts happening down the way, when shit doesn't go as fucking easy as they want it to, she can be like, it will, further cement her position. But yeah, sure. Yeah, you were wrong, Alicent. Oh, okay, let me just, can we rewind time so my grandson's head is back on and, your son is inside Vagar's stomach? I don't think there was any way out, but like Kevin said, everybody knows what's going on, even though Alicent is denying it. We know that she knows. Rhaenyra knows that she knows. But yeah, Rhaenyra expecting that to change anything was fucking stupid. But at least she's got closure, because now she doesn't need to, worry about saving her friend anymore. Now she can just burn the whole fucking thing down.
She has a little bit more motivation now, like a clearer conscience on what she's going to do. But just to expect Alicent to, I don't even know, be like, no, war's over. And I, normally I really like Olivia Cook as Queen Alicent. I felt that some of her expressions and reactions, her facial responses, I thought were really dumb for this scene. I'm like, some of the facial, are things we've seen from her character in different ways, and they didn't quite fit the scene. I feel like she didn't get the best direction from whoever for this scene. I don't know. It was a really weird nitpick, but there was 3 different times where she made weird facial responses. It was it doesn't really fit.
I disagree if one of those times was when she kind of figures out that, he was reading a story, he was reciting a story in basically a death haze of going out and telling the story. When she puts that together, that it's a story, that it's Aegon the Conqueror, she makes this, she can't even, wrap her head around it. That's what I got from her facial expressions, and I thought she did a terrific job in that. And also Rhaenyra with her facial expressions, too, when she, figures out that basically she's going to go back and be like, my dad was telling Humpty Dumpty, and this bitch thought her son was going to be king.
Yeah, no, I think Rhaenyra's facial responses on point, but I'm just saying, we've seen these looks from Alicent before. She should have had a different reaction to this huge revelation, not the same reaction we've seen from her before. A different response would have been warranted given this huge revelation.
Well, I think I think that she's not trying to really process that that's actually, what happened.
Kind of like in denial?
Well, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Because if you, actually embrace that and then still go on, that's just heartbreaking. But, you live with a lie, and then also your son's king. I don't know, but it does seem like a lot of things for Alicent aren't really working out. That now that her boyfriend is the Hand, and he's out in the woods somewhere. I don't know.
She has no say in any. She's on the small council. Nobody listens to her, and she has no say over anything at this point.
She doesn't officially have a spot on the small council.
Right.
But almost kind of the same with Rhaenyra. Yeah. Kind of the same thing with Rhaenyra, except Rhaenyra can get some things done because she is kind of the queen.
Yeah. It's at least she has Rhaenys to back her up. At the very least, where I think Alicent doesn't have anybody. I don't know who on the small council would actually back her right now, aside from maybe Aemond might, just because Aemond, if he actually agreed with something, he'd probably back her up, I would guess, but I don't know. Aemond's playing the game as well as anybody right now. So overall, I despite this positive conversation, I still claim that this is a filler episode. It was probably some of the stuff was necessary, but I didn't walk away going, gee, I can't wait to rewatch this. This was the episode I was like, I really just don't want to rewatch. I didn't care enough. Like, I wanted to watch Harrenhal's scenes again, but probably half the episode I just didn't care to rewatch. I don't know, probably an unpopular opinion, but that's just how I viewed this particular episode. I think you guys probably liked the episode a little bit more than I did. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to rewatch it, but I don't think it was bad. Like, yeah, this definitely felt like not a Kent episode. And I think, here's a question for you, Kent. Honestly, how much did the haircut play into you not enjoying this episode?
Probably about 30%.
So, I mean, it goes from, what, like a 4 to a 7 if you take that haircut out?
I mean, let's face it, thankfully my Mysaria had 2 scenes, so that helped, and I really thought that the stuff with Aegon was really top-notch. Like, this was Aegon's episode in a lot of ways. Every scene that he was in was actually quite interesting and grew his character. Every single scene grew his character. I like that. But Rhaenyra's incompetency at times just, like, I don't know, what was a little surprising, but she doesn't have anybody. Does she have anybody aside from Corlys that has really seen much, like, combat experience, do you think?
I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody that's on the console has seen more than she has, so
they're probably used to, doing things the way that, they've done them in the past, and, like, think, oh, well, I'm still alive, so this must work. But this is like a whole, this is a whole other game, I guess. I don't know. Kevin,
she would be a good leader, like her father was in that period of time, but not necessarily in a war period. And I mean, she learned how to rule from him rather than from Daemon. From Daemon she learned some other stuff. But
Viserys would have struggled in this war, quite frankly, I think.
I mean, most of it's set up because he fucking didn't just put his goddamn foot down.
Yeah, because he was like in a daze and started talking about his little Princess That Was Promised story. Right? Anyways, yeah, I love this episode. I thought it was great. I loved unpacking all of that with you guys because maybe a lot of that was also into Game of Thrones, but I love how, we went from where Harrenhal was in Game of Thrones to, the history of it and some stuff that's probably going to come. I want to watch Daemon rebuild Harrenhal and then watch it burn down as Aemon rips out his eye, sticks him, Kent's guess. So, yeah, I'm pumped. This episode's got me so pumped in the episode of the show and the episode of this podcast. So, that's where I'm at. And I love rewatching Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. I really should have done it, and it reminds me that I just learned so much more every time.
Yeah, even now I'm rewatching Game of Thrones for my 4th time, and there's all these little things that I keep picking up on. It's a show that requires multiple viewings to get everything, and I feel House of the Dragon is in a similar situation. Maybe not as good, but it's not. It's a really, really good show, especially compared to. I don't know. I was talking to Eric about this. I feel like we're slightly past the golden age of TV. Like, the golden age of TV was 10 years ago, and we're kind of going on a slight decline. Not a huge decline, but it's almost kind of like comparing the quality of Game of Thrones to this show. I would say Game of Thrones was, 2 notches better. Not a huge gap, but a little gap. So,
yeah, I agree Game of Thrones is better, but also we don't have, and I think, and that's probably going to be the same, but also we don't have the amount of Game of Thrones and watching it X amount of times. I've seen Game of Thrones 3 times, and it's better each time you watch it, as as a whole. So there's that also, because we'll be going back and watching stuff for each season. So I hope we get 7-8 seasons of House of the Dragon, or at least 5, or however much of the story is,
right? I think they're aiming for 5, which
makes sense.
To me, I think is probably going to stretch it.
Yeah.
I think 4 would probably be perfect. But
well, then that's what I want.
Is that why they went to
that's why they'll
8
do
episodes,
5.
Chris? Do you think?
I don't know, man. I don't know what the plan is. You know, like, one thing to take in mind too for like the quality of Game of Thrones is, you know, even though we haven't finished the series, by the time they started, they had 5 books of, you know,
the source material,
800 to 1,000 pages of the source material.
Yeah.
You know, this is a couple chapters in one book, you know, that they're stretching out into, 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So,
And it's a prequel. I mean, so.
Yeah, they have certain parameters that they have to work within to, yeah, of course. Which, I mean, once again, like, I do love that we got to see Daenerys' eggs in this episode. Like, just something small like that, I really appreciate in this show. Stuff like that's good. All right, so I want to ask I have the 2 questions this week. So my first question was, who was your favorite and least favorite Stark character from Game of Thrones? We're excluding Jon Snow because, you know, he wasn't really a Stark. So basically it was the 5 kids, Ned and Catelyn were basically the ones that were on the table for this discussion. So Kevin, who was your favorite and least favorite Stark?
Oh, I didn't think about least favorite. I don't know. It's like really hard to say. Theon actually is my favorite Stark. The honorary guy. I don't know. I guess I would hate to say Ariana, because that's just like the obvious popular. But the stuff that she did with the Hound is some of my favorite stuff of the entire show. And least favorite? I don't know. Bran? I can't even think of the other ones.
Rickon?
You can't. Yeah, Rickon. You can't hate on Rickon. He doesn't. He wasn't really given a lot to do, and when he did, I mean, it's like just survive until he doesn't even get to do that anymore. So, yeah. And then who? There's
Sansa, Robb, Rickon, Bran, Arya are the kids.
Yeah, and like Robb is someone that you don't even realize in season 1 that's important, and then season 2, you actually start to really dig him, and then I guess season 3 is going to get to your second part of the question. So, yeah, I guess to answer this, I'm going to say on a serious level, my favorite would probably be, we'll say Rickon, just because I feel bad for him now that I think about what he had in the show. And then my least favorite, I'm going to say Bran. I liked young Bran, but then when he stops being Bran anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I love Bran, but there was one scene in particular that always pissed me off. It's basically like when it was him and Mira towards the end, and Mira's about to leave, and Bran just is such an ungrateful fuck to Mira, and I was a huge fan of Mira, so that knocked Bran out of my top spot. So I don't know. Bran lost his ways at times, but
I'm gonna leave. Okay.
Yeah, just shitty move on his part. I know he had a lot on his plate, but she did so much for them. So
my brother died in front of my eyes for you. Yeah, he did.
See ya.
That's it.
Chris, who you got for your favorite and least favorite?
All right, so for my favorite, I'm throwing a fucking wrench into your works, and I'm going to say Benjen Stark.
Oh, you know what? That one does count.
Especially because we didn't get anywhere near as much of him in the first season as he was in the books. But, dude rolls in, he's fucking badass. Joins the Night Watch, so his brother won't have to worry about fucking anybody using him to rebel against him. Saves his nephew's ass. Disappears for fucking 7 seasons. Comes back, saves his nephew's ass again. And then dies. So yeah, I'll throw the dark horse in the mix with Benjen. My least favorite is Sansa. I fucking can't stand Sansa. Her story's been changed so much from the book, and in some ways they made it better, but B, she doesn't earn any of the accolades that people give her. Like, I'm trying to understand why people are like, oh yeah, Sansa's so smart. I'm like, she never fucking shows it. She doesn't really learn. Like, she can take some of the negative examples from Cersei and from Littlefinger, but she in short just doesn't deserve to have the ability to just be like, I'm Queen of the North and we're seceding from the fucking Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, but just Winterfell, and they're not the smartest people up there. So, like,
I mean,
they're kind of like dirtbags.
I agree with you with Bran. I don't like Bran. I don't like Sansa. Arya at the beginning is one of my favorite characters. Arya at the end, again, when does she learn to be a badass? Because all she does is get the shit kicked out of her for like a whole fucking season. Ends up knifing the waif at one point, and fucking now she's a fucking ninja out of nowhere. Kate, I don't even consider a Stark. She's still a fucking Tully, which is why she has no problem, like basically believing everything that the person who fucking murdered her husband and set up the whole war leads into. Although, that will tie into part of the second question. Robb I liked a lot, but again, we lost him too soon. Ned is, one of my favorite characters, but again, lost too soon. But he's probably the prototypical example of like what you were getting into in this series. The person who's nominally like the main character getting murdered at the end of the first season should clue you in that this is not, Lord of the Rings. So, Sansa wins my vote for least favorite.
So, I'll tell you why I asked this question. And it's because as I'm watching this, so compared to like my first time through, I really liked a lot of the Starks, probably outside of Catelyn and Sansa. But more and more I watch it, the less I like pretty much the vast majority of the Stark family, and I realized just how deeply irritating and flawed they are, and I had more of an issue trying to figure out who my favorite was as opposed to, well, also it's hard to distinguish who my least favorite was, but I'll say my favorite by far was Arya, and it wasn't because of like how she was great as a ninja or anything. It was more to do with when she's paired up, she got paired up with some of the best characters and therefore got some of the best scenes, like she did with the Hound, which her and Tywin are like, those scenes are amazing. Some of the stuff with Jaqen's cool. And she was also friends with one of the greatest characters ever, Gendry. So our Arya really wins that by a landslide, and really now that Benjen's an option, Benjen would have absolutely been my second pick. So then the question is, who's my least favorite? And I went into this thinking it was definitely going to be Sansa, but it's not. It's Robb fucking Stark. I don't even know why you guys fucking even like this guy, but what a fucking tool bag. Everything bad that happens to him is beyond earned. And, he acts like such a douchebag to Edmure. Like, well, Edmure, you gotta go marry one of Frey's fucking daughters. Dude, you're the one that was supposed to do your shit, and now you're fucking putting it on somebody else, and then you're acting like you're a fucking good ruler? Fuck you, okay? Fuck Robb Stark. He didn't have charisma. he was a really boring fucking guy. I don't think he was that great of a fighter, to be perfectly honest. And he basically got a lot of good people potentially killed because of his really shit decisions. And he deserved everything that was coming to him. Really can't stand Robb Stark. And that's actually why it took me forever to watch Eternals. So, there we go. With that being said, that kind of goes right into the next question.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
By all means.
I'm not trying to throw shade on you, but part of the shit to remember, too, though, is that the casting was not necessarily on par with where they should have been, because a lot of what your problems you have with him make sense when you realize that he's only supposed to be 14 years old.
Oh, was he supposed to be like the same age as Daenerys?
Jon and Daenerys are the same age. Robb was a couple years younger than Jon, so I think he was a year or two younger.
Robb was younger than Jon. No
yes,
shit.
Because
I thought it was the other way.
No, that's why. Because remember, he came back to the war and he had Jon with him, and
okay, yeah, I did not know. That's interesting. Once again, though, they couldn't show the whole age thing.
Yeah, it's like, and the same thing with like Bran's supposed to be 8 at the start of the show. Arya's supposed to be like 10. Sansa's supposed to be like 13. But how do you have things? Like well, not only that, but like 13-year-old, 10-year-old, 8-year-old showing up, and performing, to the level that they were asking for them in Game of Thrones.
Right, it's a little different than when what was it? Corlys was trying to give away his youngest daughter to Viserys in that really awkward scene in season 1.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that would have been a lot to ask. That's interesting.
Really awkward. Really, really awkward.
Huh. Yeah, I had no idea that Robb was supposed to be that young, but that does make sense. So was his woman? Was she also young? I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter.
I mean, they were supposed to be roughly the same relative age. Yeah. So I mean, yes, if you think, not that it excuses it, but it's a lot easier to see a 14-year-old, thinking with his dick and
oh god, yeah,
getting everybody killed than like whatever 20-year-old Richard Madden was at the time of filming.
No, the book version of what we're about to discuss probably comes off a lot more sympathetic than the TV version does then, which obviously is going to be the Red Wedding. And I asked the guys, it's clearly the most well-known story / episode in Game of Thrones. It's kind of like The Undertaker versus Mankind in Hell in a Cell. Like, was that a great match? No, but it's arguably the best known wrestling match of all time. That or Hogan and Andre, and that wasn't a good match, right? So, my question was, is the Red Wedding the best episode, and is it overrated? Chris, I'll start off with you.
Do I think it was the best episode of Game of Thrones? No. Honestly, I think that one would probably have to go towards maybe one of two episodes. Well, I could see one episode in episode 4, 2 episodes in one episode in season 4, 2 episodes in season 6. So, and those were all things that were never written about in the books, but Hard Home, I really liked. And then Battle of the Bastards, and I forgot whatever the season 6 finale was titled. Was that the Bells of...
Oh, is that the big explosion?
Yeah, the big explosion.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, that episode is up there with Blackwater and whatever the episode with Hodar's backstory. I love that. I don't know, but yeah.
So, as for whether I think it was worth it, I mean, let's put it like this: I saw that the title was for the episode, so I knew that they were going to be ending it, like they did in the book. So I want to say from about like the halfway point on that week that we were watching it, I didn't watch the episode. I just watched my wife's face to see what her reaction was going to be when it actually happened on screen, and it lived up to that portion for me. But I think it loses out because they killed the coolest repercussion from that, which ended up completely changing the whole story of Game of Thrones going forward from that point, which was not bringing Kate back as Lady Stoneheart. So, what a loss of a fucking character, and just recontextualized so much of the remaining show going forward. So, and if I remember too, didn't that end the whole wildlings, or did they wait to kill Mance until season 4?
Like I said, I'm like one episode short of it in my current watch through, so I don't really know the answer to that, unfortunately. Quick question though regarding Lady Stoneheart. So, since I've heard of her and I know very, very little, so she survives the Red Wedding in...
No, she gets murdered.
Okay.
And then the Thoros of Myr and Beric Dondarrion find her body, and they bring her back. The Red Priest brings her back. But she's been dead for so long that she's like zombie Kate. Like, her voice, she's decayed, her voice is all scratchy. She's still got the slit throat. And so they're working for her from that point on.
Oh, the Brotherhood is?
Yes.
Oh,
yep.
Okay. Interesting.
So they're the ones killing all the Freys, not Arya. She runs into Brienne later on, and the last thing you see from Brienne is her about to get killed because Catelyn blames her for, at the time, thinking that Sansa and Arya are dead when she sent her to rescue them, and she never succeeded. So, that potentially changes all of Brienne's story going forward, too. So, it was just, like a cascading series of events with changes. Some of them are great. Some of them, I think, like, how cool would it have been to have, like, a fucking zombie character running around in charge of a band of fanatic fucking,
that would have been batshit crazy,
religious
dude.
mercenaries. Yeah.
It may have made her character likable. Because
even then, I don't think she's likable because it looks like, if he ever finishes the story, they're turning her into another villain,
Oh.
almost similar to the Mountain kind of deal.
Nice.
Not necessarily like a physical powerhouse, but, like...
Reanimated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, I don't think he's ever going to finish the books.
No.
So, what we got is what we got. And as soon as I saw that they were casting Michelle Fairley on, I forgot which, I think it was The Blacklist, the very next season, I was like, yeah, she's not coming back. So.
Right. All right. Well, Kevin, now that you've gotten all this fun insight, what's your thoughts? Is it overrated, and is it the best episode?
Well, is it the best episode? I don't think so. Is it overrated? I don't know. Is it? I don't really know about that. Like, if it is what you're saying it is, but I've never really heard that. But I don't think it's overrated because I'm someone who hasn't read it. All right, so you're Chris, you were talking about your wife watching it, right? Like, you knew it was coming. So that was kind of like my girlfriend was watching it, and I didn't know that it was coming. I'm just watching the show because she wants me to, and so and I think it's awesome. Like, it's totally my jam. It's so violent and sexually depraved in poor parts. I'm like, this is great. Like, I can't believe this is exists. So the Red Wedding comes. It's I mean, when Bruce Bolton, what is it called, Chris? The
flare. You're talking about?
Yeah, underneath. I didn't even understand that was a tell about what was going to happen. It really took me a couple times to watch it. I kind of knew that the Red Wedding was coming, even the second time. But, I still remembered that, everyone dies. But I couldn't remember how it all happened, So it really not until, the third time I kind of know what it is going in. And it's so brutal. If you don't see it coming, it's so brutal. With them stabbing the pregnant woman in the stomach first, right? That's like the first thing that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like your brain just is like, is this really happening? So I think it is. It's so good. But the best episode of all time has got to be Joffrey's wedding to Sansa. That I could think of off the top of my head. That was actually a better twist even. Because it's not really a twist. It's like, this is exactly what should happen because Robb Stark did all of this stuff, and he thinks that, like, what you guys were saying earlier, like, he can, that this is all going to actually work out for him. I just think that, like, Robb Stark's the new guy. We're going to follow him now, and then it's just so violent, so brutal, so bloody, and, Catelyn Stark. And that's how it ends, too. Catelyn Stark. The very end.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just slits that girl's throat, like, and she knows it's over. That's, what a way to go out. I'm not the biggest fan of Catelyn Stark, but you got to give it to her on that one.
So, to me, the episode's actually called "The Reigns of Castamere," not "The Red Wedding," but for an episode that kills off 3 characters that I absolutely have huge disdain for, I'm always a little surprised that people's surprised to that episode, in the same way that I'm always surprised at how, like, surprised people were by the twist of The Sixth Sense. It was just one of those things that was like, it just really seemed inevitable. Robb has basically done everything to provoke these motherfuckers. Yeah, you're going to fucking get got. So there's no surprise from my perspective whatsoever. There was like, I don't know, I felt that the vast majority of people were far more surprised than I was from it. I was just like, yeah, this is Game of Thrones at this point. Like, you done fucked up. Time to fucking pay the price. So, as much as I love that we kill off so many characters that I hate, I mean, this episode is tied for the highest rated on IMDb with a 9.9 out of 10. And it just doesn't deserve it. It's overrated. And I do believe that if you were to ask, 100 people, and this was like fucking Family Feud, to like name an episode of Game of Thrones, I think The Red Wedding is going to be the most popular answer. That's kind of what I'm basing this off of. I think it's the most well-known. Maybe not the most beloved, but most well-known.
Battle of Blackwater would be if someone asked me, that would be the first one off the top of my head. But I'm definitely not 1 out of 100. But Kat, come on, when Catelyn Stark has Walter Frey's wife, probably daughter bride, and she's gonna cut her throat, and then Walter Frey's like, I don't care about her. I'm gonna just make one of these other ladies be my wife, and then she's still gotta kill her, and then they kill her after. It's so,
It's a good
so
episode.
great.
It's a very good episode, but it's not a great episode.
Oh, that's so great. Where do you get that anywhere, even within the show?
Fight.
That ending. I thought it was so good. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, the best part's the fucking music for me. The music's awesome, of course. But yeah, to me, it's just always like, it's one of those things that will always be one of my major nitpicks with it. And like I said, though, there's so many other episodes that I really love. Chris named some, you named some. There's just this episode doesn't crack my top 10 episodes. Probably, maybe my top 20. So, I'm not hating necessarily on it. It's just that I think it's very overrated by the general population.
Oh, I don't even remember most of what leads up into that episode also. So, like, I see what you're saying. But for coming to a close, of like, I didn't even know what to do with myself. Like, because then I know that there's like 4 other seasons of the show at that point. Was it season 3? And I think there were 7 out, and there's 8 altogether. because I saw it.
Yes.
I saw the first 7, and then I waited for 8. So yeah, yeah, I thought it was great.
7 and 8 are kind of like 1.5 seasons.
Sure.
It's very weird how they did that, but yeah. And yeah, Blackwater. Yeah, I'll tell you, this is kind of off topic, but Blackwater. One thing that as much as I enjoy like the fighting and stuff, actually to me the best stuff about Blackwater is the shit with Cersei and Sansa as they're tucked away in the room. Like Cersei puts on such a good performance in that particular episode. I don't know, she won me over forever in that one episode. So I guess that always holds a dear place in my heart. But
all right, so before we go on, have either of you guys ever played the Game of Thrones Telltale game?
No.
yes, but not very much.
Well, do you remember where it starts?
No, I played it years and years
With
ago.
the Blackwoods during the Reigns of Castamere episode of Game of Thrones, and they get fucked over because of the Brackens supporting Cersei and Jaime.
Oh, no shit. That's interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, that played out like in what, five quote unquote episodes of the game, right?
Yeah, you played the one son who gets sent to the wall. You played another son who, I think he's up in Winterfell, and then the daughter who is down as a handmaiden to Marjorie in King's Landing.
Yeah, I played a lot, I played through almost all the Walking Dead ones aside from Michonne, and I played through a couple other... The Telltale game series are really amazing stuff, so I really should get back to that.
If you've never played The Wolf Among Us, that game is so good, and it's based on one of my favorite comic series.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things, and actually, I'm pretty sure I actually own that game. So that'll be something down the road for me. Absolutely.
But yeah, I just wanted to remember to bring that up because I was like, this starts with the Blackwoods and the Brackens, and then we're talking about the Reigns of Castamere at the end. I'm like, that's like that whole first episode right there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd kind of long forgotten about that. I see that there's actually a new Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, I guess, mobile game, but I haven't downloaded or anything. Have you looked into it? Or do you know anything about it?
I haven't been doing too much mobile stuff lately, so no, I haven't looked into it.
Gotcha. All right. I mean, I have nothing else about this episode or anything more. I don't know if you guys want anything more. Whatever.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good for the episode. Have you guys... I mean, I know Kevin and I hit some stuff. Have you done anything since last week, Kent, in regards to watching any new media or not?
No, I've been watching nothing new. It's been all comfort food, like old Tales from the Crypt. I got through season 13 through 26 of South Park while playing Elden Ring. And that's really been in watching Game of Thrones. So I haven't watched anything new. I have nothing of interest for this particular discussion, which I'm grateful for because I've talked way too much this episode.
You want to go first, Kevin?
No, you go ahead.
All right, so one of the things I wanted to bring up, and I keep forgetting to, is we've been watching the final season of Evil, and if you guys need to watch that. This season, it's on Paramount Plus, and every single episode they've done a new thing in the... Well, they've changed the credits a little bit every single episode, but they've put a new disclaimer on every single one, and they've been changing it up every week. But it's the first one was like right when it gets to the point where you can skip the credits. It says at the bottom, if you skip the credits, you'll be haunted. And then the very next screen, it's like a demon will come and burn your toes while you're sleeping for the next 2 years. And then each episode has been just a little slightly different variation on that. This last one was like, if you skip the credits in a Netflix episode, you won't be haunted at all. So I really just appreciated the humor that has gone into those. New stuff. We've caught up on this. We caught up on The Boys. I watched The Beekeeper tonight, and that was insane. It starts off pretty fucking grounded, like a decent Jason Statham movie, and then at one point, this chick attacks him at this gas station with like pink and black and purple hair and like goth outfit, and when he starts beating her up, she jumps into the back of her truck and pulls a tarp off, and she has just a fucking minigun that she uses to just completely mow. Like, it turned into a fucking cartoon. But yesterday we watched Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, and that was actually really good. So I'm glad I watched that one.
That's what I've been hearing. Did you like The Beekeeper, or was it too bonkers for you?
It not only was it bonkers, like the action was really cool. They did some really good scenes, but it was way over the top when it vacillated between wanting to be grounded and wanting to be like a fucking cartoon. It was almost like, because David Ayer directed it, it was almost like you went from like End of Watch to Suicide Squad in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty B-movie-esque. Like, the beginning was pretty badly acted. Like, the acting was bad from the beginning. So it was like you settle in for a B-movie, and that first Jason... It was worse in the theater, because I rewatched it again. But, like, in the theater, it was almost like I brought a friend, and I was, like, embarrassed that I brought him to this, because it was like, old people don't have anyone to take care of them. It's like
it's almost as bad as robbing from children, but children have parents that can take care of them. Old people don't have anybody because they get left behind.
It's worse. Yeah, that was all pretty bad, but then it really leans into it. So I don't think it was meant to be as grounded as you may have seen.
I mean, look at like the beginning scene when he goes into the call center. It's relatively just that kind of kinetic martial arts, John Wick kind of style. And then when you finally hit that gas station scene where the new beekeeper comes to fucking, and she just pulls out that minigun, like, and then it tries to dial it back a little bit. There's this, and then you get like that Australian fucking mercenary with the bionic leg, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it was like, it reminded me of like wild 80s action films. I had a good time with it. Anyways, yeah, you got anything else, Chris?
No, that's pretty much been it. But that's a lot of TV for me in the last 2 days, so.
Oh yeah. So I guess like 3 things. Well, the first one is I went and saw a Quiet Place Day 1 on Thursday, Independence Day, and that was pretty good. I like all those movies. I go see them in the theater. That's basically why I went to this, because Maxine wasn't out yet. So I went. I had a really good time with it. It's like what limits the movie, the limitations of the film, is what kind of sets it apart. Is that there isn't a lot of talking, and then there's not really like deaf characters in this to do sign language and stuff, because it's all like, you're back to see what it was without communication, and like watching New York City get destroyed, and it was a lot of fun. And then Lupita, I don't know how to say her last name.
Nyong'o?
I should. 'Cause, what is it? Lupita
Nyong'o.
Yeah, like you add her into the mix of like being the lead character in A Quiet Place. It definitely substituted like great acting like from Emily Blunt. where you get great actresses for these kind of genre films, but they don't feel wasted. Like their talents are actually used in it, even though Quiet Place, it's a popcorn flick, and it's one, and if probably my favorite of like jump scare type things, type movies that you need jump scares. I really like A Quiet Place, all of them. They kind of get me. And then I saw Maxine the next day, and of the trilogy, I would say it's my favorite one. I'm not going to say it's the best one, but it's definitely the one that was made for me, because like the first one is like 70s, like I'm going to say a Texas Chainsaw Massacre slasher house type thing, even though it's different and modernized and has its own twist to it. And then Pearl has got like, not that it's like a golden era horror film, but it like is about the golden era Hollywood and mixed with weird art house. It's kind, I guess it's a horror film, and it's certainly a horror trilogy, because the third one, Maxine, it's like an 80s Brian De Palma giallo picture, oh, it's so good. It's exactly what I want. It was like grindhouse level violence, but it's not all about that. It was really, it was fun. It's not like, gonna break new ground, I think, like kind of Pearl did for people, but if I think they even overrated A24 horror films are still a pretty decent movie, and and that's where I'll leave it at that.
I have a quick question. If you could answer it without much spoilers. Does I assume does it find a way to tie Pearl with Maxine?
Well, I mean, not real. I mean, yeah, I don't really remember, because it's basically a direct sequel to X, right? And I saw X kind of when it came out on streaming, available as streaming for everyone, which kind of took a little while, and then Pearl kind of took longer. So I haven't seen them. I haven't rewatched them. So I'm sure it has connections to it, but basically it just feels like a direct sequel, but it's also its own thing. Like this one's kind of like an 80s crime story thing going on with it. With it being Maxine trying to break from the porn business into Hollywood movie star, or just being an actress. So, yeah, I'll say that I don't want to give anything away. It was a great time. I would say that I really don't see too many connections in Pearl, except for that the love of Hollywood that all movies kind of have, whether, like, not like porn movies, but like, you take a porn crew and put it into Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, but, the Leatherface isn't there, it's just his grandmother, like, I don't know, kind of changing the genre, but like, I don't know. Yeah, it's my second favorite movie of the year. That and Love Lies Bleeding. They're movies that are made for me. And, and the fact that this played at my, my local cinema down the street, like neighborhood. And it had a pretty decent crowd for the first, the 120 showing on Friday. Nice. So
that's good to hear, because like out of the three of them, that one looked the most appealing to me. So the fact that you liked it that much leaves me with hope.
Yeah. So yeah, some people like the other ones better, and it's whatever. But it's definitely for us. All I do want to say about it is that for a trilogy that no one really saw coming. I don't know who was like, oh, Ty West has got this new movie, and they're going to be like another sequel within the same year. Like, no one saw this coming. And, like, Mia Goth pretty much exploded because of the first two. and especially Pearl, put her in another category. But really, you know, like, it's a great time that, like, you know, we almost didn't even think or see or expect to get. So, yeah, it's a great time to be alive in cinema, I would say.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be better than Pearl for me, but I hold Pearl in, like, a ridiculously high regard for just her performance. More than the story, I guess. So, I'm still very excited. This is actually one of the 2 movies that I would consider going to the movie theater to see this year, so...
Oh, you should if you can. I would say if you could go see it, definitely, because you won't get to see this very often in the theater,
right.
I think. And then I've been doing Alien vs. Predator, which is, I've been watching all of the Alien movies and Predator movies in the order they were released. So tonight, I did Alien, Aliens, and then Predator, Predator 2, and then Alien 3, and then next is Alien Resurrection, and then it'll be the Alien vs. Predator movies, and then so on and so forth. I'm going to do all of the Alien Predator movies. So right now it'll end on Prey.
At least it ends on a really high note after getting through the fucking slog of Alien vs. Predator 1 and 2, and one of the Predator movies, the last 2, was okay, and the other one was shit for me. The one with Lawrence Fishburne I didn't like, but the one with the lesser-known cast I really did like, oddly enough. So, you got some good movies ahead of you, and some shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, actually. Predator 2 is not, like... last time I watched it, I was like, man, this is way better than I remembered it. And then this time, I'm like... It's pretty awesome up until the ending. And then I'm like, I didn't even remember the ending of it. There's things you'll kind of be like, I want to let it go. But the ending is pretty... Like, I can't believe... It just doesn't even make sense to me, like, why that's an ending. I don't know if you guys remember it, but
I only saw it once and I didn't really like it. But Chris, you liked Predator 2, right?
I fucking love Predator 2, yeah, man. It's probably my favorite. Although I really liked Prey 2, so.
Yeah. But, we should, I don't know, maybe we should do that sometime. It's like 15 movies, so maybe not, but, and I know you guys don't really like the Ridley Scott. Or Kent, do you like the Alien Covenant?
I
Prometheus?
have not watched them yet. That was something for this year.
Wait, seriously? Oh, you're gonna have
you have to understand that each year I have to save some stuff for the following year. So there's always like movies that I put off saying this year in October I'll get to. So I have them, and I haven't reviewed them. Like this year I'm going to do the Resident Evil series, which I know I'm going to fucking hate my life, but whatever.
That sounds awesome. The Resident Evil.
No, they don't, Kevin.
And that sounds like
no,
so
they
much
don't.
fun.
They are fun.
They
up
rule
to
in
the
fun.
first two, and I like the reboot, but no, those movies are shit, man. They get so bad, like when you have all the fucking Alice's or whatever.
You played the games, right, Kent? What I fucking love, and I very loosely mean love when I say that, is that, what was it, Resident Evil 5, the movie, replicates the scene in Resident Evil 5, the game, where, except in the game, it's Chris and Sheva going up against, and I think after they've freed Jill, going up against Wesker. And then in the movie, it's Chris and Claire and Alice going up against Wesker, but it's the exact same fucking cutscene. Like, they literally just copied the game's cutscene into the movie.
Ooh, that's bad. Because the editing in those games are awful.
Yeah, when I watch it, I was like, oh, this is very familiar, because probably Resident Evil 5 is the one I've played through the most. Just, I don't know, I play with my buddy Ron. We played through that game double-digit times, so whatever. But yeah, like, there's some nice call-outs, and then there's some real bad shit. And somehow they always lured some like decent actors into those movies, though. And I was always like, well, this person's career is going to get wasted in this movie. That's sad. But they are fun. They're just not good, I guess, would be more my argument.
Yeah, no, they rule in the same way like the Fast and Furious.
Right, to which I would normally go to you, Kevin, no, they don't. So, yes, that's a very good analogy.
Yeah, Jason Statham with a baby and a gun, like on an airplane, just shooting it, like, oh.
I'm a beekeeper. Right.
That's like one of my favorite things in out of anything was I've been doing Statham summer too. I've been watching Jason Statham. And speaking of Resident Evil, I saw Death Race for the first time.
Now that's
night.
fun.
That was fun. Yeah, it's actually one of Paul W.S. Anderson's better movies.
Because he based it off of the original.
He like did nothing else to it. No, it was good. It was good. Okay, well I'm good, guys, and caught up. If y'all are,
yeah, I mean,
yeah. I'm excited for this episode. Like, I'm legit excited. I don't know. I think I'm going to like try making a nice meal for tomorrow night's episode. So I'm actually like really excited. Even though I was a little down on this episode, this next one I'm super. There's got to be a major death, right? Like, do you guys agree that somebody major has to die in this next episode?
I
no
feel
pressure.
like it is. I mean, I could be if I'm wrong. It's fucking going to be a rug pull.
I'm super excited to see who it is, though.
Something big is going to happen soon. I think I didn't really even kind of put that together, but then until you said that, Kent, and it's like because this episode was so good, but yeah, it's just a lot of like build up and three schemes in a row, like.
This is also going to be the mid-season episode, so usually Game of Thrones often did something for mid-season. So I fully expect this to be interesting. Maybe Crispin will have a different haircut. I don't know. We tough to imagine what else he can do with his hair.
Get burned in a forest by a dragon. Could be.
So, you know what's got me excited right now, and this is kind of weird, but this is the first year in a long time where the only movies I'm really looking forward to see coming up are all horror movies.
That is weird.
Longlegs.
Between Maxine Longlegs and Alien Romulus, which the trailers for that look fucking amazing, so I really hope that comes out well.
Yeah, I saw the trailer in the theater. It was kind of just a teaser trailer. It didn't really give up much, but yeah.
Did you see the one with the heartbeat?
I think that was the one.
Yeah, that was a really effective trailer. Like, even if the movie sucks, the trailer was fucking really good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm looking forward to the Saw movie. I'm pretty sure that's coming out. But I just typed in Saw on IMDb, and the movie I Saw the TV Glow showed up. And I'm super curious. Do either of you know anything about it?
I've heard like it's like a 7 out of 10, but I don't really know. I from what I understand, I think it's kind of like one of those surreal, multiversal, alternate reality kind of horror movies. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for it, and it looks cool. It kind of feels like with a. Morehouse, what are those guys' names? The one who did The Endless. Not that it is one of their movies. It kind of has like one of their like the feel of those guys. They did The Endless, and then they did I can't remember the other one, but it was also like I guess it's a horror movie, but it's just kind of like weird sci-fi out there kind of movie.
I look at the list, the cast, and I like Justice Smith because he was in Dungeons and Dragons and he was in the Quarry video game. But then I also see that Fred Durst is in it, and that gives me a lot of worry. So I'm waiting for it to get cheaper, or hopefully just stream it. I really hate buying new horror IP without having seen it first.
I think isn't it on Netflix?
I don't have.
Right it's on Prime.
Yeah, I don't have Netflix right now, so.
As some person, one of the reviewers I was watching said, everything Justice Smith has been in, whether or not he's good in it, has unfortunately tanked, and so maybe it's him. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't look like it's on.
That's all.
You can rent it. Rent or buy, but I don't see it on my.
It's not on Just Watch
Maniac,
either,
anyways.
So. Hopefully, it'll be streaming soon enough. Hopefully, because $20 is too much to just take a chance on a random horror IP that could be very mediocre. I don't know, because I saw that Twilight's on sale, the whole series, for $15 right now on Vudu. You can get some quality shit there.
Oh, it's fucking worth it, dude. It's fucking worth it. I wish I had only spent $15 on those movies.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna make me sad buying them, but I'm doing it for the good of the podcast. So, all right, we good?
Yeah, I think that's good for me. So I don't know how we're doing goodnight tonight, but thank you for tuning in, and I'll be back in a couple days when we do the next one.
You too. All right, good night, guys.